A future leader. Luke's eye for design is a game changer to work with. His leadership was amazing for a man in his first business, and he's an all round operator. Luke's knowledge of marketplace is on world level, and he has an all ability to be a game changer when it comes to bringing a product to market. A valued friend, and definitely one to keep a close eye on. That is just one of the many recommendations that Luke has on LinkedIn from a good friend of his, Connor. Luke Mackey, you're very welcome to the Scaling Your Business podcast.
Hey, thank you very much. And that's probably the best recommendation I've ever received. And that's from our head of sales at Bamboo, Connor, who could say many great things about himself.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to dive into well, I don't want to. I've already dived in and done a bit of background search on it, and I want to ask a couple of questions around that. But let's go back a couple of chapters. You went to secondary school in Monkstown. After the leaving cert, you went to NCI to do a degree in marketing. And one of your first jobs on LinkedIn is a sales rep in Carphone Warehouse. I'm curious to know, being in sales myself, what did the sales role teach you?
Yeah, so I think thanks for looking so far back. Feels crazy. Yeah, and so yeah, I when I was in secondary school, I actually wanted to be a pilot for most of my life. I
Mm.
never thought I was going to go into business, even though I liked business, and I've always like kind of delved into different parts of it, whether it's selling bike parts or literally just starting like or selling Christmas trees as a kid. And my that was all kind of with the end goal of trying to actually fly planes for a living, which is mad. So when I was in school, I kind of never really thought as a leaving cert as a means to an end because I couldn't become a pilot from a leaving cert. So I always thought of kind of like how I was the back door into becoming a pilot. So I um I tried to go into the Air Corps, and long story short, it didn't make it in the end. So I kind of jumped on the leaving cert last minute and was like, okay, I need to figure out a way to what does it look like outside of this. So yeah, so I got into NCI and I picked a course which was I could have gone a bit broader. I could have gone directly into business, or I could have gone into marketing. I chose marketing because it was a little bit more narrow. And it was actually the first time I was in academics, and I really enjoyed what I was doing. I was probably at one of the highest attendances in that class. I just went in because I enjoyed it. I liked the lectures. It was really practical. They were actually working on companies that were real life companies who came in and said, okay, we have this problem we want you to try and solve. And I was like, Jesus, this is amazing. So that Carphone Warehouse was essentially a college job while I was in while I was going through marketing. I think I did that for a year and a bit, and I think there I realized, and essentially it was just people walk in, they're looking for a phone. I had a bit of an interest in tech myself, so I had an interest in the devices that I was selling. And I delved into what kind of how they'd use your phone. It was pretty simple. And all it was just getting along with someone and being able to have a conversation and understand their need. And that was basically what sales is. Like most of sales, 90% of sales is being able to actually understand the person you're sitting in front of, and get to know them on a human level. If you can understand them and they can understand you, you gain trust, and it's a lot easier to sell. As long as you're trying to solve their problem, then there's going to be a transaction. And if you can solve their problem, then yeah, that's great. So that was I did that for a couple of, I think a year and a bit while I was in college, and then while I was in college, I also realized that I really enjoy this whole marketing thing, and I had a friend who was also he was also on the other side of it. He was more on the creative side of marketing, and I was kind of more on the actual ideas and trying to like come up kind of the more transactional, I suppose, side of it. It was like, okay, how do you turn this idea into actually sales and ROI? So we both kind of looked at, okay, well, we had all these different friends and things that were in different industries that were in hospitality, for example. And we saw a lot of them just really bad at like social media and really bad at their websites and really bad at Instagram and what at that time was Snapchat as well. And we looked at maybe kind of coming in and providing a service there. And we tested it with a few small cafes and friends who had cafes, and just pitched like cold to people as well. And we started to build up a little bit of a business from that. We then went from just doing kind of managing social media side for restaurants and cafes all the way up to doing full blown promo videos for some of the biggest marketing companies in Dublin. And kind of we had this kind of complex around us where like, okay, there's no way that they're going to come back again. That what we've just built is just what we've just done is not good enough. And we're rushed to do it. And then sometimes it was just people, it was agencies who come to us like, hey, we have this video to do. We don't have the time to do it ourselves. Are you able to put this together? We'll give you $2,000 to do it. And you just know the contract they're on was just was much larger, and they're just using it, spending a fraction of that to get some of the small stuff done. We're like, oh yeah, absolutely, $2,000 sounds great. We can do a lot with that. And 2 college students at the same time. It's like, all right, how we can do this? And we do it, we get it done, we pull it back. There's no comments or anything. This is great, cheers, thanks a lot. And they come back again. We're like, okay, there's actually a business here. People are coming back again and again for the service we're providing. So we kind of scaled that up. That was Spacebox. That was again, while we were in college. We had this business. I think we had like 15 ongoing clients that were kind of like that. We're come back again and again for business, and we were managing socials on the side as well. So we built up to a little bit of business, but in that realm, or in especially when it was on when you were speaking to people in hospitality, so we're doing hotels, full service restaurants, and cafes, and then we had agencies kind of coming in for creative work all the time. I personally kind of got more and more involved in what was happening inside of these restaurants and talking to these entrepreneurs and understanding their problems. And I was also just becoming a busier human myself. I was in college, and I was also had this thing on the side, and that's where my attendance in college probably dropped a lot. But I enjoyed it, and I think it's when I started drinking coffee, and I kind of realized at that point, okay, there's probably a lot of issues in the operational sides of running these businesses that could be solved by tech too. So I go to the same coffee shop every morning, get the same coffee. I got addicted to it. I would get on the train into college to make it for my first class, and I've told the stories hundreds of times. But I would text the barista who I knew because we were managing their social. I would text him on the way over. I was like, hey, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Can you just throw me on a flat white? And he was like, yeah, no problem. And I'd have it ready when I walk in, and just that was my morning ritual. I do that over and over again. And I think like 3 or 4 weeks into that, I realized that he was giving out. He was like, now my phone's blowing up every morning. I got people text me or WhatsApping me for their morning coffee just so I have it ready. He's like, are you serious? Like, yeah, they've got all these people that just texting. I saw it happening, so I started seeing the growth of that was actually just coming from people seeing me walk in and order, like, how do you do that? And everyone's a very local cafe, like everyone was seeing what was going on. And it kind of, that's from there, kind of like, maybe there's a product here, like maybe there is an app or something that it's no longer text. So I always have to fix up at the end of the week and pay him for the coffees I was selling, like or buying, and it's probably an easier way. And that's when I started like mocking up ideas. I wasn't on the design side previously; it was more on actually having the relationship with the client and trying to execute on the idea or what they're trying to do. But I started playing around with mock-ups of like what this thing could look like if it was meant to be a product. And I did not have any confidence in my ability, whether this was something that would actually be legitimate or real. I was actually kind of afraid to pitch it to people at the start. I thought it was kind of stupid. I was just like, this going to be, people are going to think this is too small of a problem to really be solving. And yeah, so I when I mocked it up, I actually was able to show to people, and that's a really, really important thing. Instead of just standing in front of someone saying, I've got this idea, you press a button on your phone, and when you arrive at a coffee shop, your coffee's sitting there waiting for you. When able to actually pull out your phone and be like, hey, look at this. Imagine if you're on the way to work, or you're short in your lunch break, and you press a button on your phone and have your lunch or coffee sitting there waiting for you, and you actually see the screens and see that it's legitimate, it's tangible. Here's it actually would work. That's when you're like, oh yeah, I can see this. This makes sense. And then you show that the people who are working in the industry, it's like, yeah, it makes complete sense. And I can picture on the operations side of how it would look for me, or how the screen will come through, or when the coffee comes through, and just trying to understand the logistics of it. That's when it kind of became a bit more real, and I started trying to see if this is something I want to build or not. I started entering college startup competitions. I think it was in my second year of college at this point. I started entering these like competitions where if you win, you get like €1,000, just no strings attached. So you just go and do whatever you want with it, which is kind of cool. And not many people were coming in there with like legitimate, tangible designs or anything. Everyone's like ideas, like, oh, I want to do this thing. Can you come and help me do this thing? When I was coming in, and I was able to say, hey, here's what it looks like, and here's some of the clients that we've got in the other business, and here's what they say about it. And I was able to kind of get really validated from there. So I won a few of those kind of no strings attached prizes, and I started to think, okay, how am I going to get this built? And I at that point I kind of stepped away from the Spacebox business, and I was looking at, okay, you can build one of those businesses at any point, which is a services business, and there's lots of them, but with a product, there's usually a finite amount of time you actually have to actually go in and build it and win a market. And I saw what was happening in the States as well. So Starbucks had just released their mobile ordering, and I think in their first year they had like 1% of their sales or 2% of their sales going through that. I think that's substantially more now. I think it's around 30-40% of the business is now ordered ahead, something crazy like that.
Wow.
But like in 2016 or 2015, when I was thinking about this idea, this is where it was. That was just because of the onset of mobile, because people were able to, you did no longer had to like rely on just having Wi-Fi at the time, being on the go. You had data plans that allowed you to be able to do this, they can change your behavior and have these types of apps that allowed you to do it. So I started looking around. I started being able to kind of, by putting myself out there and actually kind of biting the bullet and trying not to care what everyone thought about me and going and standing up on the stage and pitching this thing. I met more people who were a bit more who thought like me and were trying to build things like me. And I got introduced to my co-founder at the time. It was Alan Haverty, and met him for a coffee on a Saturday. We were both in college. I think he was in his last year and I was in my last year. And I think we were just like, it was just before Christmas, I think. And I sat down and I showed him the mock-ups, and all I knew was this guy was an absolute whiz. Everything I heard about him, he was building something similar in the space of local commerce. And I was like, okay, he's either gonna tell me I'm an idiot and this can't be done, or he's gonna go want to do it himself and not do it with me, or just nothing's gonna come out of this. And I basically sat down and was like, okay, here's my chance. I like pitched him properly, but I don't think I let him say a word. I just like put the phone down. I was like, here's how it's going to work, and here's why I think it makes sense, and here's why the timing completely right. And he just looked at me and didn't say anything for about 5 minutes. And as I was pitching, it was a very one-sided conversation, Rian. And he looked up at the end of it and he just nodded his head. I was like, how's no one done this already? Is basically what he said. That's the best thing he could have come out of his mouth. And I was like, exactly. It's like, and from there we did our research. We were midway through our last year of college, and we spent about 6 months just getting to know each other and sharing like how we build this product, or like looking, just researching the market and trying to understand how we could actually win something here. And we did. So when we both finished college, we decided like let's just go at this, and let's just go take a desk out in the GEC in Dublin 8 and just try build a prototype and see how it goes. And yeah, we went from there. So that was the inklings of Bamboo, I suppose.
Amazing. One of the reasons I got you on this podcast was I went to Devin Hughes, CEO of Buy Me. You're aware of who he is, and I said I'm looking for the top entrepreneurs that you know out there to be a guest on my podcast. And he sent me one name, and it was your name. I want to go back to the beginning when you began talking about how you got to where you are today. You referenced being a pilot. I imagine that most kids, I know I did have a dream, and you referenced your dream was to be a commercial pilot. Mine was to be a hotel manager, of which I am not a hotel manager. I tested it, didn't enjoy it whatsoever. Why a pilot?
I think it was just literally one of those things where I latched onto as a kid, and whenever I went traveling, it was just this magic of getting in a plane and going from like grey old Dublin to landing in like Malaga or something like that. And like, this is amazing, and like I think it was really enthralled by that. And then as a kid, I just got really into it. So like I would like buy a flight simulator and use it on like really old family computer that just never worked properly, and I would like buy Flight magazine and like read about all the planes. I'm like, oh, Aer Lingus just bought a fleet of A320s. I just know everything about everything that was happening in the space. And it was like one of those things that when I get into something, I really got into something, and it was just always in my mind like, well, I'm not going to go into consulting and PwC or whatever. I'm going to be a pilot, or I don't want to get in the law. I really care about what these guys' goals are. Like, I want to be a pilot. That's what I want to do, and that was it. But at the same time, I was, as I said at the start, I was just like, by chance, I was like into business, and I was I ran our school canteen, or for the sweet side of it at least. And at Christmas, I sold Christmas trees. I mountain biked as a hobby as a kid throughout my teenage years. And how I funded that was actually buying and selling mountain bike parts, and be able to actually afford to be able to build a bike that would go and go on the trip every summer with my friend. We just go race mountain bikes in the Alps, and that was all I funded through me buying and selling things. There was nothing else through it. There was nothing else there that would allow me to do it. So yeah, so I realized that I had a knack for that, but I never really thought of it as a passion or a future.
Yeah, the Christmas trees, the sweets, the bikes. Have you got a history of entrepreneurship in your family?
Maybe, yeah. Like my dad was quite entrepreneurial in his earlier years, and then my mum's. I think I get my hard work from my mum at least. My mum was an extremely hard worker. She
Mm,
worked at a traditional job. She worked at a bank for 35 years, and she started when she was 18, and just was there until the day she retired. But she worked really really hard. I think that's where I definitely got my ethic from. Um, yeah, I think there is probably a mix. Yeah, like especially like probably my mum's dad's side, he was an entrepreneur. He built businesses and like was really well renowned in his industry.
mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some DNA there.
Nice. You mentioned on a previous podcast, you've already mentioned the Alps on this one. On a previous podcast, you said that when you exited Bamboo, you celebrated by going to Paris for a week with your girlfriend. So
Done the
you've
research.
traveled. You've traveled before. I'm curious to know. I'm a lover in traveling as well. When COVID lifts, what's the first city you're going to?
Between it's so it's what I it's kind of after being locked away for nearly 2 years now at this point. Is like what do I
Yeah,
want to do? Do I want to go to a city, or do I want to go get some sun?
similar
I'll
feelings.
probably go somewhere as soon as possible I can get some sun. So whether that is like, I don't know, if I don't care where that is, if that's Spain, if that's Portugal, if that's bloody anywhere, that's if that's in the Mediterranean, whatever it is, I will probably I'll try and do that and try out a bit of a week or something like that, because I actually haven't done that in years of actually going on a sun holiday. Everything has been cities. I love
Yeah,
cities. I think cities are a little bit more. You can do them on weekends. You can't really
agreed.
stop, and they're not really holidays even. They're just more of experiences. But actually stopping and trying to take a break and trying to decompress, I haven't done that in years. So I think that would be very nice to do once things lift and be able to go off to a nice sunny destination.
Agreed. Agreed. You mentioned the kind of beginnings of Bamboo started with a daily text between you and what was a previous client of yours who owned a coffee shop. So you obviously like coffee. What's your favorite type of coffee?
My favorite type of coffee would be, in terms of the type that I would drink most, it'd be, it started off as a milky flat white, or sorry, milky latte. That was like the first coffee I got introduced to because it was just the easiest to drink. Um, then I started getting into trying to make stronger coffee. So I would like, go to a flat white because it's a little bit stronger milky coffee. It's easier to drink. And then I was just like, okay, well, the milk is actually better when it's a bit sweeter. So I drink oat milk flat whites. I don't know, mate, and this is me overthinking it. It's very simple. I just like drinking oat milk flat whites, or I'll have a black coffee as well. Either one or the other. I have a little coffee machine in my kitchen as well, a little like Sage Barista Express, where I actually buy the beans. So I'm getting a bit
Oh,
more into
cool.
the taste of the beans that you get and where they're from and
Yeah,
the different mixes they have and and the roasts and like how they're roasted differently. It's a light roast or a dark roast. So I have no subscription. So what I just do, like when I run out of coffee, I just look around. I follow all these different Instagram accounts. You've had James on your podcast. He's probably
yeah.
cringing at me, thinking like, Jesus, he's got needs to know a little more. I should probably speak to James a bit more about this. But yeah, I would just go and find who's doing something interesting, who's got a very well renowned, who's got a very well renowned brand or a very well renowned or very well renowned coffee, and I'll go and I'll order it online and taste it. I recently, because where we were in the Bamboo office, I was in the IFSC, and our daily coffee was always in Coffee Angel, and we got on very very well with the Coffee Angel staff. I missed it so much. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go online. I'm gonna order loads of bags of Coffee Angel, and the experience I had with that, and also the coffee is amazing. The experience I had with that, I ordered online at like 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening or something like that, and arrived the Friday morning at 10 a.m. I was like, they have taken the level of a level of experience they had in their stores, which was incredible. Everything from the coffee to the staff to just how quickly they were able to pump them out, and the interior and everything to online, just be able to execute so well. So I was like, Jesus Christ, okay, I might actually just set up a subscription with the Coffee Angel guys and just fuel myself on Coffee Angel.
Do you remember your first coffee that hit the moment you were like, I like this stuff?
I don't. I actually don't. I think it probably was forced into me. Probably like I was probably just working late, and someone was like, "I'll have a coffee" or something like that, and I'd have it. But yeah, I actually
Yeah,
don't know.
no.
I don't
The
know.
reason why I ask is because I hated coffee for years, and I went on a trip to Little Havana in Miami, and it was there that on a food tour I'd paid for, I tried coffee, and probably because of the sugar content in a Cuban coffee, I liked it. And then since I've experimented with several coffees. You referenced I had James on, and I bought
Yeah.
some of his mushroom coffee. If you Google your name, plenty of things with Balt, Bamboo, Entrepreneur Awards come up. What's something that you're into that not a lot of people know about?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe my sports. The sports I follow. I'm a big football fan. I don't like talking about it because I think the worst thing you could possibly have is if you follow someone on like Twitter, and you maybe follow them for like their thoughts on like what I'm like retweeting and text something like that, and they start retweeting that, oh, Chelsea just scored a goal and it's the best night ever. We just beat Atletico 3-0 on aggregate. And it was an unbelievable night at Stamford Bridge. I don't think anyone wants to hear that from anyone who follows me. So these are things I don't really
Mm,
talk about publicly, but like I'm a huge Chelsea fan.
mm.
And there's a match on at 1:30 today, and or half one, which I can't wait for, which is a FA Cup quarter final against Sheffield United. That's kind of the things that I do in my spare time. That's really sad because I don't have any other real hobbies anymore. Um, like a football or sorry, building businesses has kind of been my hobby. It's taken away from the things I used to do, which was play football or exercise more and more, and taking and worry about those things as well as like I used to, as you said, I used to mountain bike. I had a mountain bike since college because I had to sell my bike to actually want to build a company. So, yeah, those are. I'm really boring. I think that my life just revolves around what I'm actually doing. So right now it revolves around Bolt. I think one thing that's helped me a little bit is because all I would do would be what I'm building is the fact that I've moved in with my girlfriend now, so I have to disconnect and stop. And I like 7 o'clock in the day if I'm not like present, like having dinner or watching TV, it's I will get I will get that look that says like you need to switch off and what are you doing, like
Yeah,
like why aren't you focusing on this on the weekend? So I think that's a good thing. Like that's probably my hobby now, if you want to say that. It's just you just trying to, I think everyone's hobby right now is nothing but going for walks and getting coffee. I don't think anyone can really have hobbies at the moment. So
yeah, for
yeah, I
sure.
think everyone is doing the same thing.
Well, fingers crossed. Chelsea beat Sheffield United today. Um, do you read any books? And if so, are you reading any books at the moment or listening to any podcasts?
I listen to plenty of podcasts, and this could be anything from a mix of sport podcasts to like help you as you just to disconnect. You don't really have to listen; you can listen passively. To like business podcasts or like growth podcasts, or like I do a lot of that. So I listen to like the A16Z podcast quite a bit. I listen to the All In podcast. I listen to the Dave McWilliams podcast, that kind of stuff. In terms of books, I found it quite hard. I always find it hard to get into a book, reading a book, but I find it quite easy to listen to a book.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at that. I am better now at going to bed and actually opening up and getting a few chapters in on a book than what I was before. I think I just crash and I just go to bed and I'd be on Instagram as I'm falling asleep. That's kind of what I'm trying to get away from at the moment. I'm reading a book now about Naval. He's the guy who founded AngelList. It's
Okay.
about kind of building wealth and like making use of your time and that kind of stuff. I think that thing it's a really good read.
Nice. Yeah, I always found it difficult to read books. What I did was I just set up a group once a month with 5 or 6 others. We picked a
Yeah,
book and we read it and we had to talk about it in a month, which kind of held me accountable to reading it. I didn't want to let other people down. I didn't mind letting myself down, not opening it, but other people, I hate letting them down. Um, okay, Vault, the current venture you're at, country manager for Vault. 30 seconds on what Vault is. I'm aware that they announced that they're hiring 130 new jobs earlier this month, but what are the what is Vault and what are the future goals of Vault? Because I know they're expanding from just taxi led to e-bikes
yeah,
and scooters.
yeah. So Bolts was founded in I think 2013 by a college student, a guy called Marcus Villig. And started in Tallinn, in Estonia. It was the reason it was actually started was because he was out on a night out with his friends, I think, and he couldn't get a taxi home. The way it works, you have to go to a stand and wait and call a taxi, he was like, "There's got to be an easier way." Similar to what happened with Bamboo, was like, "Okay, there has to be an easier way. I just want to press a button on my phone." And he built a prototype, uh, got a product out there, kind of got drivers to use it, and essentially it's now become like the largest mobility platform in Europe since then. So started off with ride hailing, started off with being able to order a taxi or order a private hire car to you and be able to transact your trip through that. To now being probably the third largest micromobility provider in Europe. So being able to do that with an e-scooter or an e-bike. and also food delivery as well. So there's probably three lines of business. There's the ride hailing, there is micromobility, and there's the food delivery. Obviously, ride hailing was where their anchor was. It's where most of the business was up until last year. Thankfully, we had the food side of the business and the micromobility side of the business, which is now gone into such hyper growth. Like the food delivery business, the fast growing food delivery business in Europe at the moment. And they're investing, and they've realized how key micromobility is going to be, that they're going to be investing 100 million into e-bikes and e-scooters in 2021. They're going to have 175 cities with both scooters in it. And yeah, that's what so in Dublin, we launched the ride hailing side of the business, and being able to order your taxi from your phone. Nothing revolutionary there, but we plan on building a kind of a platform for this in Ireland, where you're able to not only order a taxi from your phone, but able to jump on a scooter, jump on an e-bike. And I think that's kind of something I want to do, is I want to really have an impact on the infrastructure we have here, and be able to walk away from both at some point, and be able to say, okay, well, actually, I've left the transport, the way we move around the city, or the way we move around in our towns, a far better place. So we're able to have all these options, whether it's your bike, your scooter, your car, whether it's public transport too, all in one platform.
When I travel to Baltimore, probably 4 or 5 times a year, in the States, one of the things I get excited about most, next to the Under Armour flagship store, is taking an e-scooter from whatever hotel I'm in to the flagship store. And I've been to other European cities where there's electric scooters. Is there some law that they couldn't have had them for the last couple of years in Ireland? I'm assuming that's changing, because I noticed that there's another, I'm assuming he's a competitor of yours, but Brian O'Driscoll invested in him as well. Why has it been held up, and can we expect them in 2021 or 2022?
Yes, so they are currently illegal. Scooters are illegal on the streets right now. They're not regulated on our roads. So if you see someone on the scooter, they're not allowed to be doing it, but we do. We've kind of taken a blind eye to it in the recent months.
Yeah.
And previously there was crazy things happening where we're getting docked points for riding a scooter, which is just mad. We've been a little bit far behind on this, and now we're starting to see progress. So we've seen Eamon Ryan, who's the Minister for Transport, has come in and said that we're going to be legalizing scooters on Irish roads, and he said it was originally meant to be 2020. Now it looks like it's going to be 2021. In January, they came out and they approved the draft bill that would essentially legalize these devices on roads finally, and that would mean that for private use they will be allowed on Irish roads. What you've probably seen is, when we're like one of the last remaining cities in Europe to really go after this and really actually legalize them, has turned Ireland and turned Dublin into a very attractive location for every single scooter company in Europe and around the world. Yeah. So there's like 25 companies trying to enter the Irish market now.
Wow.
We are obviously planning on entering the Irish market. We already have a ride hailing business here. And we are quite experienced in what we do. So we're in, as I said, we're in like 53 cities with e-scooters. And the markets we want to go after are with the extent in which the teams we could hire, with 130 jobs be created in Ireland, with our operations teams and our mechanics and our dispatch teams that would roll out scooters in each one of these markets. So we're hoping that we see the legal framework actually put in place in the next few months, probably before the summer recess at the Dáil. It'd be great to see that happen. And then we're already talking to councils about deploying our scooters and how those schemes would look in your local town or your local city.
Brilliant. Well, look, I thank you for your time today. Wish you the best, and hope that you guys dominate the market in that space. And fingers crossed Chelsea beat Sheffield today.
Thank you so much, Rian. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. No worries. Take care, Luke.